see. Oh, the group. Oh.
Happy Friday.
Hi, Jess.
Are people in? Hello.
People are in here.
Oh, that's my friend. Hi, Jess.
Jess, who does Waistcoat Wednesdays, which are bringing me so much joy in my life.
Hi, Elizabeth.
Hi. That's the thing. Everyone now has different usernames that I know from their ones on Instagram.
You're not read with me right now.
I know. So yeah, if you guys want to introduce yourselves, I guess, should we give everyone a minute to?
Yeah, I would think so.
Yeah.
We're on a new platform.
We are. I do
Jenna,
love this so much.
Oh, is there a link for this I can grab? And I will share it.
Yes.
Do either of you have it on your Twitter?
I just retweeted
Dana's,
so yes.
Gonna do that.
Yay! Waistcoat Wednesdays is amazing, Jess. Please keep doing that.
Yes, please. We are live.
Hi, Rachel.
Oh, hi, Rachel. Love it.
Hear my typing. There we go.
Okay. Oh, Jacqueline's here. I love it.
Oh, it's give us your Instagram handles. We'll know you.
Right? Who you are.
If anyone ever changes their profile picture, I'll never know who you are ever again.
I just did a few months ago, and I still get
I know.
That's me.
It's so confusing. Oh my gosh. It's fun though, because now everyone is kind of half in disguise, like our Georgiana.
Ooh,
very on theme.
Thematic. Would we recognize you across the phone?
Right. You know, only her almost fiance. He was the only one.
Yes.
But all right, let's jump in?
Yeah.
Let's do it.
Hello to everyone. Thank you for joining us on our new platform. I'm Kelly.
Dana.
And then we have
I'm Beth.
special guest.
I'm Beth, otherwise known as B in her books on the internet.
Beth is our special guest this week. Beth, do you want to tell us a little bit about yourself?
Sure. Let me put my beer down. I talk with my hands quite a bit. I don't need an accident by all my technology. Hi, everybody. Thanks for having me today. I live in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, and I usually work at a big public library branch near the lake. I've been working full-time here in my bedroom, which we're in right now, doing digital and virtual programming for the library and doing a lot of webinars and training and trying to get ready to maybe sometime reopen to the public, but we don't know. I also read and review romance for Library Journal and for my own Twitter account and Instagram page, which you can find by my handle, which you can see right there. And I also started reviewing romance audiobooks for a Library Journal, which I was really excited about. So that's pretty much me.
That is amazing. Of course, we're so excited to have you. So everyone, when we first announced Summer of Sarah MacLean, B immediately was like, hi, yes, please. I would like to talk about Never Judge a Lady if you're doing Instagram lives. So B, why? Why did you immediately say, of all of Sarah's books, this is the one you were like, I got to talk about?
So part of my job used to be, so I started about 8 years ago working for the library, and one of my first duties, as you were, was to order the mass market paperbacks for my branch. I had a little budget of $100, so it wasn't a lot. But if you think about it, we don't pay, the cover price. Yeah. So it was it's like $4 for a paperback to put it in the library. So I had to be really choosy with what I could choose to go on our shelves. And I was a secret romance reader 8 years ago. I didn't talk about it with anyone. It was just something I always loved to do, but I was kind of embarrassed about it and kind of shy. And it really, even to check them out from the library, it took me a really long time to do that until they started having this self-check machine, because I was embarrassed, to even check them out with a person. But so I started ordering paperbacks, and right around that time is when this beauty hit my cart. And it was just, this cover just completely grabbed me. And I was like, look at her and look how awesome she is. She's not embarrassed. She looks amazing. She looks like somebody I want to be like. And why am I afraid to put these books on hold and check them out in front of my coworkers or anybody else? I don't care. I'm going to be like this person. So I kind of jumped in at this point. This is kind of my gateway Sarah MacLean book. So I didn't really get the whole journey to meet Chase or The Secret. So I'm interested to hear how that went for everybody. But it's really my favorite of hers. I've kind of evolved with her, I think, as the years have gone by, which I think we'll talk about today as well. But it just holds a special place in my heart. And I try to read it at least every year.
Oh, wow.
So,
Wow.
yep, one of those ones I keep, and I'll even just flip through to certain parts because I like them so much. So I was like, oh my God, we're going to talk about Georgiana. I have to go and talk about her because I'm a big fangirl.
I mean, she's amazing.
So that's kind of my romance origin story plus why.
I love that.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think that's so great because we all, I think, go through that period as romance readers of being told that these are trashy paperbacks and we should be ashamed of them. And I had a very similar journey of not being open about reading them to anyone, like even at work, and I work in the book industry. And my kind of breakthrough moment was actually Day of the Duchess, where I was like, these authors are doing such incredible work in this genre. Why the hell am I ashamed to be reading it and celebrating it? So yeah, I think Sarah has that power over a lot of us. Like, she wants her heroines to like grab their happiness and grab their power. And I think she encourages her readers to do the same thing, which is why I think so many of us are here celebrating Summer of Sarah MacLean.
Yeah, we're all matching.
This was not planned. It's the happiest of accidents.
I know, I'm like, yes.
Here for it.
Sarah was my first historical, which I'm very excited to reread next week. So
yay. We got a little glimpse of her too in this.
I know.
It was so interesting. And I think I am fascinated by the fact that this was like your intro to Sarah and to Georgiana, because something Dana and I were talking about earlier this week is really if this book can be read successfully as a standalone. And not only because Georgiana's story spans this whole series, but it spans the last series as well. And like, I don't know if I would recommend this as a solo read to someone. I'd be like, no, you have to start way at the beginning to get this full story of her, you know?
Mm-hmm. I would never have recommended it to myself, so it just kind of happened. And I think she writes so well that you can pick up enough on the context of what you need to know, and then the emotions are kind of what carried me through. And then I read it and I immediately needed to read the other ones because obviously there's so much going on. I was like, oh, and I just binged all of them, and it was like a very wonderful time. So yeah, I would not recommend what I did, but I also had been reading a lot of romance novels before, so I was a big Stephanie Lawrence fan. Like the one library I used to go to, they had the spinners with the romance novels, and I would go and like secretly like grab all the Stephanie Lawrence ones because those were the hottest ones that they had. And I had to be quick because I didn't want to see me because it's so silly.
It is like the hoops that we jump through as readers.
Mm-hmm. So, did either of you know that Georgiana was Chase before, or how did that work out for you two?
So I didn't until like the chat. Until Summer of Sarah MacLean, I didn't know that like she had this whole plot line and this was going on. But I kind of got spoiled a little bit and then spoiled myself fully by going on Goodreads and confirming that this was true. So then, after reading A Rogue by Any Other Name and then kind of continuing and realizing like the pronouns were not being used and they kind of danced around the subject of Chase so much. So I knew before this book, but still that reveal at the end of No Good Duke Goes Unpunished was like so good.
Yeah, I had the same where I had it in my head that it was Chase's story, but then there was talk about Georgiana getting a story, so I looked it up and spoiled myself, which I shouldn't do. Like, I am someone who likes to go in a book without even reading the jacket copy. So I half wish I hadn't known, but also it was so amazing to be able to pick up all of the little clues throughout, and I feel like I had such a better understanding of Georgiana as a character because I watched her manipulate the lives of all of her friends and their like soon to be wives, so that when it was her turn to like face that same kind of meddling from them, it was so delicious to watch her struggle with it because I was like, you just did this to them. You're like out there teasing Temple and Bourne and Cross and like inviting their women to the club. Like, it is your turn for them to surprise you. So it, as much as I wish I had been surprised, it was really fun to pick up on all of that, which maybe is a good segue into, we like love to start with our Easter eggs and our Sarah-isms. So Dana, what were some of your favorites that you picked up on?
As always, I am here for the cross-dressing. I think Sarah's worked it into so many books to this point, and it's so entertaining. And I love all of the moments of the trousers and how much the heroes love the trousers.
There's something about them in breeches.
The breeches. And the sex scenes with the breeches.
I think I wrote in here, where did I write it in here? Something about the pants. I'll find it. I was writing notes in my little notebook last
night. I love it.
Because I forget names, like, they're gone.
Same.
Something I really like that Sarah does a lot is it always has these men with these houses, and they always have some like very impressive thing that is not typical to the time. So for example, in this book that is upcoming, there will be this gorgeous underground surprise that's coming up. And then in this one, there's Duncan's pool, which is very symbolic, and you know, who has the money to have a heated pool with 6 or 7 fireplaces just going all the time, and you can go swimming whenever you want in the middle of London during this time. Like, that's just amazing, and I love all those little details. So
yeah, she's so good at that, which I love because it's stuff that she always has a historical reference for, but I'm like, would have never thought it existed.
No, you're like, wow,
my version of history. I did love that. I love that this book felt, we had so many nods to past characters where we're at like a Ralston ball and there's like a joke about Ralston and his wife really liking fencing in one of the scandal sheets. You know, we see Leanne for a little bit. This was so nice because we got a picture of not only Bourne and Cross and Temple, but we also got to see some of our beloved characters from previous books, and just know that they're like living happily and they have a million babies now. There's so many children in this book. I like trying.
Everyone was either pregnant or had a carriage with them.
Yes. A lot. And then we get a ton. We still have Sarah loves her mythology. It is all over this book with like references to Poseidon, the Justice and Vengeance painting, which has a lot of significance to Georgiana, and then lots of Christianity, which I think ties into the pool that West has and this like need to be purified, which I know, Dana, you have a lot of thoughts on.
Oh, yeah. I think, too, it's so interesting how she weaves this in. And at the same time, we also have Georgiana as, like, this virgin mother figure throughout the book. And the, like, very significant, like, play at innocence that we'll probably talk about more when we talk more about Georgiana as a character and her struggles. But it's, like, such, like, a layered and, like, textual story that is so beautiful.
Yeah.
But unexpected.
Yeah. I think Georgiana is so fascinating, I think, because of all the roles that she has to play. And I like what Sarah does here with kind of the commentary of women being either viewed as like that virgin Madonna or the whore, and how so often in the book, West is kind of like, you're not Anna, you don't have to be this person. And she's like, but I am this person. Like, he doesn't realize that these two things can coexist within her. And while I think Anna is sometimes a role that she plays and something she puts on to be more confident, it's also her. Like, she is as, you know, like as sexual and as enticing and as seductive as Anna is. They're the same person. One was born out of the other, you know?
Mm-hmm. I agree with you. And talking a lot about how he views her as Georgiana and as Anna, and Sarah very clearly shows the changeover. So he sees the physicality of that even more than Georgiana would, because he sees her in her white dress, and then he follows her in the carriage, and she has her demure silver slippers going in, and he notices that, and then the first thing he sees is her sinful black shoes with the heel and her black dress and all the makeup and the padding and the artifice, as he likes to call it, and he thinks her artifice is feigning passion for him when it's in fact her being her true self, which he has to come to terms with. And that's always really interesting to me, because it's like, dude, get over it. She wants you and she's nervous and she's not, like, breathe the root, man.
She's spent all this time being shamed for this one act of sexuality that she has had, and she's finally trying to own it with someone, and he keeps trying to tell her, like, no, this isn't real. And he like was infuriating to me at some points, just because I loved her so much. It's like, let her be. Trying to be herself, dude. She likes you.
And that's so many of Sarah's heroes, that they're just like big idiots.
Yeah.
And they want her, but then they like have some little point of either, like with Ralston, I remember so clearly of apologizing for everything he did. And I was like, dude, stop it. And him pulling back, we're like, you know, being kind of confused and torn between these sides of her, I think is that apology and that pullback that like makes you just keep wanting reading, but you're just like, I want to shake you.
So much. Like, I was just trying to find it. I couldn't find the name of the hero from the season, but he had the same thing where like every time they kissed, he would immediately say something stupid. And like, West was the same, where it's like, okay, we have just had the best sex of our lives. You're not a whore? Like, what are you doing, sir?
Like, take a second.
Oh my God.
Yeah, he was super frustrating. I still loved him, but she's my queen. So I was like, do better.
So great.
And for her, it was, she's so afraid of to love, because she thought she was in love the first time that she had sex, but she didn't know what love even was, because she was so young, and then she quickly had her heart crushed immediately. So she's not had a good time of it at all, and I just felt awful for her, because how jaded would you be? I'd be so jaded. I'd be like, whatever, you got what you wanted, and now you're gonna say you love me? Like, I don't believe you either. So I thought it was very clever how Sarah very purposely, she didn't say I love you to him until the very end of the book, which I appreciated.
I did love that. And I think what was interesting too is we see Wes time and time again. He's like, I will protect you. I will give you money, and I will give you a home, and I will give you all this stuff. And he's like offended that she doesn't take him seriously in those moments. But when we look at Georgiana's history, she's not only betrayed by this one like boy that she thought that she loved when she was younger, and society, but her brother like turned her out. And when he came and he found her at Minerva House and then left her there, I can't imagine how devastating to feel like you are just completely isolated from everyone who has ever known you, completely betrayed by everyone who has ever known you. And while I think Leighton and her seem to clearly have made up, like he gave her the money to invest in the Fallen Angel. Little weird that he's not super present in this book, though. But I think Wes clearly, I mean, he doesn't have that background, but he can't even understand why she would say no to him. And she's just trying so hard to protect herself from what every man in her life has ever taught her, which is that they're going to betray her at some point.
She very much wants the control, even though he's like, no, I taking control. And I was like,
yeah,
that was hot. I like that part.
Control freaks.
Yes, I was like, oh, 2 alphas. I love it so much. It's rare to find those, you know, like, and I love that. I love it. It reminds me of some of the IA Immortals After Dark books, you know, like it's rare to get 2 alpha characters in the room together.
Yeah, it is really fun. I think it added to their tension in a way. You know, in romances, I think tension's so important because you know we're getting an HEA. So it's really about making that tension believable. And we had a lot of chats in the group about whether her whole, like, I am going to get married and get a title and blah, 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 was believable motivation. And a lot of us felt it wasn't. But also Georgiana clearly didn't believe in that motivation either. So I think it really was that tension between both of them of him being like, I will not give you my secrets, but I demand yours. And her saying the same in return to him. And neither of them wanting to give like an inch to each other.
I feel they talked about being 2 halves of a coin. So she was both halves, but also I think together they complemented each other in that way. And I think she made this decision to get this marriage like a little impulsively because of the cartoon, and it was just like, well, this is what I have to do, and then she takes a path and she's going to do it kind of how she impulsively had sex with the stable boy and then went and had her daughter. And I think that as growing as a character, she kind of started realizing like, hey, maybe I should think about this a little bit. And then her daughter herself calls her out at the end, like, mother, you never even asked me what I wanted. And that was so powerful to me. And I wish that was explored just a little bit more because Caroline was kind of like, I had enough of her, but I wanted just a little bit more of her character because she is the whole reason that Georgiana is doing what she's doing. So I like that at the end, finally, we got to see her being like, I just want you to be happy because if you're not happy, I can't also be happy. And this moment, this time. And when she said, well, if I want somebody who has a title and he won't give me the title, like, should I be with that guy anyways, Mom?
The clarity.
As a mother of a very precocious 8.5-year-old, I very much connected with that.
She was fantastic. I agree. It would have been nice to have a little bit more Caroline because she's also wonderful when we see her in Wes's office, where she's like telling him the situation and like is trying to be like, I understand you have this deal with my mom, but now you have one with me. So.
She was so great. And I love the little thing about like the tea and the cake. That was just like, you know, there were times where the dialogue didn't quite feel like a child and she was like too wise for her own good. But then there were those quirks about like the reading and the little cake. And then you're like, oh yeah. That's great.
Right. And I think something, Dana, you had brought up an interesting point about Georgiana's motivations involving Caroline and the fact that she's not technically raising her daughter like Leighton really is.
No, and I think that is a lot of the fuel to the fire that she, I think, says it to West is like, I am not raising my child, and she doesn't really care that I'm not there sometimes, and that hurt her so much. I think a lot of this is all like super calculated because that's what she's learned to survive and be, but at the same time she doesn't know any way out of the patriarchy, even though she's fought against it and kind of made her own way and taken so much of the power that men have by becoming a man, but she isn't. And so she's learned that like the only way my daughter can survive is if she also gets a title, and that's the way she grew up and that's normal. And I think it kind of shows that like the layers of Georgiana that get revealed by taking Anna away, taking the Chase mystery away, and leaving her with just herself. It's so complex, and Sarah's such a queen.
I know. I was like,
yes. I was thinking so often about how, because West is like, I want to free you from Chase, which is his own kind of projection because he couldn't save his mom. And he kind of, I think, wants to save her in her place. But also he's under the thumb of like a powerful man who's blackmailing him. And he reads his life into Georgiana's, thinking she's being held captive in the same way. And it's so interesting to me because he wants to free her from something that doesn't actually exist. But in a way, Chase has become, the fallen angel has become a cage for her. She's so chained to it. She's so tied to these identities that even when she's trying to be herself earlier in the book, you see her being like, well, I wish I was Anna right now because then I could do this. I wish I was Chase right now and then I could do this. And I feel by the end of the book, she's just doing it because she's like, this is me. But it takes her like needing to realize that she also kind of needs to get some freedom from Chase.
Yep. It's like you can't live your entire life compartmentalizing everything, because at some point it's going to come together and you're going to have to choose, what do you want to do and who do you want to be? And like, if you want to raise your daughter, you either have to bring her in and pretend she's Anna's daughter, which she's not going to understand or want to be known as, or Chase's daughter, which is confusing. And it was just how she did it. I just don't even know, or how she came up with all this, because it totally makes sense. But I like map it out like Charlie from the GIF, you know, it's like, woo, what's happening?
It's a mess. Like there were points where I'm like, was reading it, especially with all the Tremley and those secrets that come in, and like the identity that West is kind of hiding because that's not his real name either. Where I was just like, wait, who knows what right now? Like, who are we pretending that they know that you? Oh my god,
so much. And I was like, what was his secret? Ooh, and it wasn't even that bad. And I mean, yes, he could hang, but it's like, are they really going to believe this Duke who's like, he stole my horse 25 years ago? And it's like, nah, no, I didn't. But I get it. And his sister too, I felt maybe we could have seen a little bit more of Cynthia, because we never really found out if he came clean to her about any of it, and I don't think he did.
He wanted her to like have that innocence of not knowing.
Yep. And I wonder if we'll see her again. What did I write down?
Bells, maybe.
Hell's Bells, because they called her a spinster. Cynthia West, spinster.
I would be, so in previous books, we had been speculating wildly about the Hell's crew.
Every series could have had Hell's Bells characters.
Every series, we like mapped out who they would be. And then Sarah ruined our theories, but that's fine. By revealing who the first book will be about. And we have not met this character yet in our series. But
you will, and you're going to love her. And you're going to, if you haven't read it, you're going to be grateful that you get this book soon, because I've been waiting for a while. Years.
She like kind of teased that Nick and Nora, who are in Bare Knuckle, might get a series, might get a book. She said in the past they might get a novella, so who the hell knows? But yeah, so I'm like, we still have then two characters in play here, and I want Stanhope to be one of them, but Mr. may be the other one.
And she definitely denied that Benedict, who is Callie from Nine Rules, will not get a book. Rude.
He's too nice. He's too adjusted. He's not a MacLean hero.
Put him through something terrible then, Sarah.
Give him a rakish lady.
Rakish lady.
Well, who knows? Maybe she'll surprise us all. But I don't know.
In the acknowledgments for Never Judge, she was like, sorry to that woman that I lied to in the bathroom who said that Chase was a woman, and I told her that wasn't true.
It's like...
Now we really are creating conspiracy theories.
I know, like dun, dun, dun.
I don't want to. Sorry, group.
I'm very excited for when we all read Grace's book together, because I see so many echoes of this book in that book and how Sarah has grown as an author. And I won't say too much about it because it's kind of spoilery, but there's a lot of things that are similar, and there's things that I'm glad reading this book now today that I think like some of this, I don't want to say slut shaming per se, but a little bit, you know, like, oh, thank God you were never a whore. And I think we'll find out that Grace actually did pull herself up by herself without help from the patriarchy.
Yes.
Like she had to do it herself, whereas Georgiana had her brother and his money and connections to society. And I'll be interested to see what y'all think later on. So
it'll be a good chat that one. I'm real excited.
Can't wait.
Yeah,
go ahead.
I think too, it's like reading her and hearing Anna, and then her revealing that like she hadn't been with another man and she hadn't been a whore. I think at times it was like, oh, that's like, yes, he gets his almost virginal, perfect heroine, and it's. I would have loved to have it been more progressive, but at the same time, it's reading the past books. We're getting kind of the most progressive Sarah we've gotten yet. So it's like seeing that lead up of the mirroring of those characters. Even like Cynthia's story seems so much like Grace.
Yes.
Of the bastard child, and knowing that they'll get that trope will get revealed more and better.
Great. Absolutely.
And I think that while I don't always love how that's handled in this book, what I do like is that at least Wes gets called out on it multiple times, where she's accosted on the floor and he saves her because he knows it's Georgiana, not Anna. And she calls him out on it. And he later is like, no, I would have saved her either way. It was like a woman in power.
Like, okay.
Like, I don't know.
And that's so real that she can't really believe him, because that's not a true test. And he's been around her as Anna for years. And I love that build up that they had that history together, and it wasn't just they first met.
Same.
Yeah, I really liked that. And she does call him out on it.
She does. And she has a moment later where she's like, when I was Georgiana, you offered me help. When you found out I was Anna, you offered me a bargain. And then
I wrote that down.
Like he has spent all this time being like, no, like I see you as you truly are, and you really are this like pure person. You've been tainted by the angel. And she's like, dude, like, but you treated me better when you thought I was just Georgiana. You started playing games with me when you realized I was Anna. You threatened me when I was Anna. And I do love that Sarah, time and time again, I think she gives us feminist heroes, but also shows that the patriarchy like continues to affect both heroes and heroines, because that's the society that they grew up in, that we're still reading in. Where even like, so Tremley's father, who was so terrible to Wes, does this thing with his like cuffs, like straightens them before like going to talk to someone. And Wes does that when he's talking to Georgiana at one point, like right before they're about to like start arguing. And it's this subtle thing, but I feel like it was this thing where it's like, there it is. Here's this person you hate, but you are mirroring his behavior because it's how you grew up. It's what you were taught to like think and see and believe in. And I love that these characters are never perfect, but Sarah does whatever she can to like show us as the reader, like, okay, they're not perfect, but I'm going to call them out on it as often as I can.
Absolutely. And even at the end, they're in the casino. He's run across the gaming tables to rent and oh, this is the moment. And then it'll be happily ever after. And then they're like, oh no, we actually still have the same problem, even though his enemy is defeated. She still needs a title, she thinks. Yep. And they stop. And you're like, no, don't let them win. Like, and she has to come to terms with the fact and her daughter and realize that they can forge a new way together. And she goes and rescues him again. And I'm like, I was like, oh, I know. Like, I thought that was it.
She like loves to like save it for the very last like 5 pages. She's like, they will not be happy until the last 5 pages of the book.
The last chapter.
Yeah, the epilogue. Oh
gosh. It's like
she writes a great epilogue.
Though. She does. What's fun is at the very beginning of the book, when they're first in the ball, Temple says to Georgiana that society always wins. And she says, no, and I'll prove it. And I love that she thinks she's going to prove that by marrying Langley and being like accepted. But in reality, she proves it by not marrying Langley, by marrying someone who has no title at all, who is like her, built themselves from the ground up and like accumulated power and wealth and all the things that society tries to keep from everyone else,
Mm-hmm.
And I love that line in the epilogue when she refers to her and her husband as Mr. and Mrs. West. And she's like, but I could be lady still because I was born to be a lady, but I reject that. And like, you could have rejected it the whole book.
The whole time.
Oh my God. It took her a minute.
They're such frustrating dopes, and I love them both.
I know. Can we talk about my boyfriend Langley for a minute?
Absolutely.
The background day of this book. He reminded me of Pippa's fiance.
Oh, I forgot his name.
So nice. And he was our background bay of that book because he is so nice. He's so kind when they break up. But this is again where I feel like we have a character who's subtly revealed to us that he's queer. And he has this very like, I will never be happy. I'm so tragic. And I don't think 2020 Sarah would be giving us that same kind of ending for him. Yes, I am crossing my fingers that he's subtly mentioned in a future book and we know that he's happy.
Like walking along the street with another man or something.
Exactly. Like give us some Sarah.
At a dinner party.
Right?
Brushing elbows.
Because I think we know, well, some people don't know, but there's more open queerness in later books that Sarah writes. So we've had a few situations over the last few books where we know that like a modern Sarah might write this differently. And this just like was glaring to me as like Sarah would not have a queer character today. That was just like, no, I'm just going to be unhappy forever because of who I am.
And I think too, it's interesting, like this comment here from Elizabeth, like, I wonder if she would ever write a queer romance. I don't know. She's obviously had a traditionally hetero series, and I wonder if she ever would.
I wonder about it. There's been a lot of discussion about who has the voice and should, and I don't know if she would, as an author, would feel like she has she's not own voices, you know what I mean? So is that her story to tell? I don't know. Exactly. And I kind of lean towards maybe no, unless it was like a short story she released for free on like a newsletter or something. Yeah. But who knows? I think she would do it well if she did it, and she has the writing skills and the people behind her to make sure she would do it awesomely and as best as she could. But
I agree.
I think she's very sensitive to who should be writing these things.
I agree. And I think there is a queer couple in the later books that we get to see. And people have asked her a lot.
Yes, Nick and Nora.
And she's kind of only ever said that she would do a novella for them, maybe. And I think that that's a huge part of the reason is that she's like, do I have the right to be telling this like woman loving woman story when that's not actually my background? But yeah, I agree. I mean, she has the chops for it for sure. And I think we'll continue her books, continue to get more and more diverse. So I think that if we don't get full novellas or short stories, that we'll probably continue to see these characters as like the B plot romances. Which makes me so happy.
Just to know he's happy.
Exactly. That's all I ever want for these people.
Just want to know if Stanhope's happy.
Yes. Just tell me all of my bays are happy. Everyone in the group chat, actually, B is the one who coined background bay for us.
Over some workshoppy moments that kind of came together kind of nice.
It was amazing. I was complaining on Twitter, basically. And she was
like, how about this?
It's wonderful. I mean, we've used it in every single book at this point.
I love it. I'm so happy. I mean, sometimes my brain works.
There's always one. I have one more thing on Langley, which is that I think so. We all know, right? Georgiana ended up ruining herself, becoming a scandal because she came out to stop her brother's wedding to the wrong woman. And I think what's really interesting is about that she's kind of trying to marry Langley for the same reasons Leighton was trying to marry Penelope, which is that it's like scandal-free human. They have a title. They're like well received. You know, it's just she like refused to let him do this, but is going to do it herself, which I think is another facet of her needing to control the world around her. Where she's like, no, you deserve love and happiness. I will take myself down a path that doesn't make me happy and be done with it.
All these martyrs, MacLean martyrs.
I love it.
Oh, it's so good. Can we talk about how hot this book was? Because
so glad you brought it up.
Sorry, I smell when I laugh. That's what I do.
My favorite moment is when they're like getting it on in the Fallen Angel and in the alcove, and Temple walks in, and this girl like just totally bare chested. And West is like, hang on, Temple, because he's staring at her tits.
He can't help it. So.
He's like, I understand you're there.
I tear my gaze away from the perfection.
So good.
And like, it was totally not a slow burn. I don't want to say a slow burn because that's not the right word, but she very much like teased out their like ultimate consummation. And I just love that so much. And I was just like, and then all the desk and like all the imagery behind the desk, the shipwreck wood, and how, you know, rebuilt out of the wreckage. And she's like, it's me, and I should just tell him it's me, but she couldn't tell him it was her.
That's on the power of chase.
I know. That's like my jam. Like, I'm like, give me the angst wrapped up into sex, and I'm just like, yes. Like,
and he could walk in at any point, and I'm giving it.
Oh my God.
And I don't even care. And she's mine, even though she's and all his torment. I was like, yeah, you feel bad.
I was crying at how much he was getting off on doing it on Chase's desk.
Wow. But that was also a great scene for the breeches, the the trousers.
Oh my God.
And then when they had the later interaction with her skirts, and he was like, ooh, I like this easy access, but those breeches, man.
Those pants.
Also, the swimming pool scene. The looks you both just gave.
And like her dress, so her Anna dress was like very purposefully constructed to like be able to like come off, even though she never took it off for anybody. So I was kind of like, that's hilarious.
It was a quick change from her other alter egos.
Yeah,
that's
like,
what it was
superhero,
like. She get it on by herself.
Amazing. She's like, I'm ready to do it.
And he's like, ow. And he's just like stunned at the edge of the pool, and she's already naked in the water. And I was like, oh girl, because I would do that too. I'd be so nervous to be like, I'm just gonna get in the pool. I'm like, how deep is it? Don't break your neck.
I know. She just goes in. Like, you don't know. Indoor pools aren't a thing.
And it's like dark and murky in there. It's like, oh my gosh. If you like the pool, the book Beast of Beswick, which is not by Sarah MacLean, but is by
Amelie Howard.
Yes. I have it up there. It's a really, really great pool scene. So that hero is deeply scarred, and he swims in seawater with the salt water to keep his skin from hurting, and it's real good. And Sarah MacLean wrote the front little like blurb on it, so it's a good one. If you need something more to read.
Who doesn't need more historical pool scenes in their life?
I thought about the dirty water too. In the comments, it's like, it's fine. It's just Duncan.
There's like no talk about like filtration or like replacing the water, or
there's definitely no chlorine in that
all the time. Like, yeah,
he has servants to like flip it, right?
I thought about that. I was like, do these poor people have to fill this pool like all the time? Like, there are like some things I feel like you can't go down the road because there's just no happiness.
Like,
there.
It's fine. Better than not bathing at all, right?
That's true. That's true. We know he's very clean. Something fun that came up in the chat was that people didn't love that he was blonde. They like didn't believe it.
I was like, who cares? But
then I think it's also when you see like these terrible, like, not that it's terrible, the photoshopped blonde hair on the
track.
Yeah,
they should have
Cross is red hair.
Oh yeah. I do always forget Cross is a redhead. I think we just see so few heroes who are. Someone, I forget who, in the chat was brought in the lion symbolism.
Yes.
And I was, the second someone said that, it clicked and I was picturing him as a blonde again. So
yeah, and all the Greek god and Poseidon and
Oh
like
my
the
gosh.
sun hitting his skin and everything. I was like, yeah, he's gold. Like I don't see him as a blonde. I see him as like a golden
I like
hero.
that. I like that.
And didn't somebody share? I didn't know Sarah had a Pinterest board.
Yeah.
News to me, and they shared that Alexander Skarsgård was like her best inspo, and I was like, that takes a whole different level for me.
And we had like Idris Elba as Azriel, which I am 110% into.
Like I didn't fully realize until this book that Azriel and Bruno were people of color. I think she mentioned something about like the Moors, or Tremley says it. And I was like, oh, interesting.
It's very, very subtle in an early book in this series, but it's hard because Temple is often described as having kind of like darker skin. Temple's white for sure. So yeah, I agree. I wasn't 100% certain until this moment in this book where I'm like, oh, okay, we are like insulting them this way. And
and I think that's something that she's like, this is, again, like you said, the most progressive she's been in her writing, and I think it gets even more because there's definitely characters of color in.
Well, we had Rock in an early book, Minerva House, who we love to death. But yeah, otherwise we don't. I mean, it was nice also to get a little characterization from Azriel. This was like my background bay earlier, just because I like kind of guys who just like grunt and say nothing. So to have him be kind of like this little bookworm and to love like gothic romance novels, I was like, oh, my Azriel.
That's really sweet. It's really
and Caroline
sweet.
just teasing the heck out of him. How adorable.
So cute. Okay, I'm taking a look at my notes. I feel like we haven't talked a lot about the fallen angel owners as a whole, and like that their wives are so a part of this now, which was really cool and interesting, and a nice flip for Chase.
Yeah, and Chase's relationships with them is so interesting because there's these moments where she like has like clearly animosity towards them, but also meddled and got them together. So she wanted these men that she felt like were family to have happiness, but at the same time, they like kind of rival for her feminine power.
Oh yeah. I thought it was really interesting too that they were kind of the venue for revealing who Chase was. That it ultimately ended up not being her decision, which was an interesting choice, and I didn't expect it. They all kind of came together like, you have meddled in our lives, so we're going to take the reins on this one and send him up to you. And as he's walking up the stairs, this boy finally realizes that he's going to see Georgiana, and it's also Chase.
And they're kind of like, well, you both were dumb and didn't do what you should have done, so we're just going to fix this for you. Like, go up there. There. Just up there.
So he's like so into his version of who she is. It's so interesting because there are moments where West sees her more clearly than anyone else. Like in chapter 2, he calls out that she is deeply afraid, and like no one else has the guts to say that to her. And then there are moments like this where I'm like, you have not wanted to see her as she really is for the last like 250 pages. You're finally getting with the program here.
I think he was just so clouded with jealousy that he couldn't move past some of that. And it was interesting. And just seeing how her fellow owners were kind of like her brothers. In a way, and that kind of relationship felt very familial in its way, like the teasing and the kind of like, I'm doing this for your own good, even if you're going to make you really mad. And I laughed it so much.
Warren is like such a jerk sometimes, but like I really loved him in this book.
He was so good. He's just so like settled with, you know, his wife and his 3 children, and he's just like, yes, I know best.
He just like still tries to be an asshole, where like Wes got into a fight with the bouncer on the street and Bourne is being all judgy, like he didn't like kidnap Penelope in the middle of the night.
And you're like, wow. Like, look in the mirror, my friend.
I half expected when they called him in. Well, first of all, I had a whole lot of anxiety the second West revealed in the newspaper that he had this reward for Chase's identity. And they're like beating down the doors of the fallen angel. And I have grown to love the fallen angel so much that I was like stressed reading those pages. But I kind of expected West to walk in and the three of them to be like, we're Chase. Like, it's always been us, like, as a way of protecting her.
Mm-hmm.
But then they kind of do end up doing that ultimately in the long run anyway.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that was so great. That final scene was so good.
But I think at the same time, like, they couldn't, in their own right, take that power from her. So, like, she was going to be damned or she was going to come out, you know, fine, whether or not. So, like, it didn't matter to anyone.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I love that, like, the whole I am Chase scene. Like, she was ready to, like,
oh, yeah.
But knowing that, like, no one believed her and no one believes women
Yeah.
whenever they say their truth, I think was a huge, like, bomb by Sarah of, like, this is what patriarchy is. But West not wanting her to give up Chase and kind of that whole scene coming together is really beautiful because it's like, as much as she was working away from being her alter egos, she like did so much with it that like I am Chase moment was like, I don't want her to not be Chase anymore.
I know,
right?
Like, I love Chase.
So much power.
Mm-hmm. And like that, having that ephemeral leader is such a useful tool regardless of who takes the helm. It's kind of like Dread Pirate Roberts, if you will, from Princess Bride. You know, it's like someday somebody else could cede some of that control and give it to somebody else and no one would be the wiser. Yeah, so I don't know.
Ooh, I don't know. I also really loved in this final scene that you know, he saves her. But when Tremley comes and he has a gun, he's ready to kill Chase, but then Chase. And then he's also ready to kill Wes. And it's his wife that ends up shooting him. And he does this because of the kindness that Georgiana has shown to her. I love so much. And I think that was like a very subtle theme throughout the book where Sophie shows her some kindness early on, and then she pairs Sophie up with King Scott. That's the next book we're going to read. She sacrificed her whole life for her daughter, and then her daughter repays that kindness by being like, now you get to be happy. And this idea of, I think we've seen a lot of women protecting each other in Sarah's books in the past, and this idea of they're not even trying to necessarily protect each other. They're just being kind to each other, and the power of that and how that in a way ultimately saves them because it totally takes care of the Tremley problem was like that's the stuff I love in Sarah's books. It's just like so beautiful.
Absolutely. I was really worried. I was like, oh, can he be redeemed if he actually murders Tremley? Yeah. Like, I don't know. Like, maybe. Yeah. I've been reading Elizabeth Hoyt's Maiden Lane series during quarantine. It's been my new binge read. And in one of the books, the hero blows up this distillery because he hates the gin, like the bathtub gin and all the problems with that, but a lot of people die, and then he goes on and it's like, oh, it's fine, it killed the bad guy, but other people died too. And I was like, I don't know if I can be okay with that. But okay, like that's a way to do it. So I was a little worried about that when I read this book, but I think it was really important that his wife was the one that took his power because he did her real wrong out of everybody.
I agree. And I think it's also Disney movies do this all the time. They don't have the protagonist kill anyone. It's always someone else, or very often they fall, and it's just conveniently. And then you kind of continue to have this like untainted hero and heroine who have not committed murder.
It's like,
Well, I think too. It's like you need people to like not have too much guilt at the end of a romance novel.
Yes.
Then it's like they work through their other guilts through the rest of it.
Enough.
A lot.
But But I think too, what you're talking about, Kelly, of like women helping women is really a part of her justice and vengeance thing of like, I'm two sides of the one coin of like, she seeks justice for those she feels have been wronged. And she felt that with Sophie and her own daughter. It's like she's kind of wronged by her birth of being a bastard. But we see her seek vengeance against Mary Ashhallow.
Yep.
Who someone talked about in the chat of right now of like what happened to that girl she was like super mean to. It's like, well, that's where the vengeance of Chase comes out. It's like, well, you were being really mean to me, so like F you, I'm going to ruin you.
Yep. And she, like, I think that, right, they end it with her kind of being like, all right, lay off, we can stop.
Yeah, it's been 3 years. We can let her find a match. I was like, oh,
I know.
You have served your time. I was like, dang.
Which I also think nicely goes along with her letting go of Chase, right? And I think she starts the book very angry because it is that reintroduction to society and like the stares and how they've like judged her. So she lashes out immediately to kind of prove that she has some power. And then once she realizes that she does have power, that she's still who she always is, that she cares less, she's finally like, okay, maybe I should stop torturing this girl through my husband's newspapers. Like,
with great power comes great responsibility.
Not want to be on her bad side.
And it's like, oh, that Lady S, though, she's okay.
Mm-hmm.
Don't make me not like you either. I was like,
I was like, okay.
Oh, it's so good. I love all those politics and hierarchy of society.
It was a lot.
Yeah, I think it was a little out of proportion, but I feel like, as I think somebody in the chat mentioned, Georgiana's also kind of acting out her teen years because she didn't get her coming out and she didn't get to kind of work through some of those angsty teen feelings. So she's kind of still
doing it
socially immature in a way.
Yeah. She reads very young at times throughout the book.
Yeah. They're like, oh, this old woman of 26. I was like, like she's a baby. Not in the times, but
oh my god.
Oh my gosh.
I think another fun little Easter egg, I think, in this one is that when Wes talks about starting his newspaper, he says he did it to capitalize on the scandal and scoundrel, which is the title of our next series. So I'm real excited about that. It was like interesting in this book where Sarah clearly knew that she had more books coming and knew what the next one would be. So she was giving us all of these little like gems. There might be some I didn't catch because I have not read the next book, but
oh, you haven't? It's super fun.
I'm really excited about it.
It's her road trip book.
Yeah, the road trip, and the one based off of kind of keeping up with the Kardashians.
This is when it starts. Yes,
I've the Soiled S's.
Read the last two in this series, so this next one is going to be the last one I have never read by her, and then we get into.
Wow, I've read all of them now. I didn't like have that like realization until right now.
Oh, MacLean
and all of Sarah's books.
Oh,
I've read them all now too, and I'm like,
I know. Now we wait.
Now we
I
wait.
can, like, truly be a real fan.
I want to go.
You're fine.
All true fans.
That's how I felt when I finished Cressley Cole's Immortals After Dark series. I was like, oh, there's so many, and I'm going to do this with this podcast, and now I'm all done, and I'm like, no, I have to wait like everybody else.
I've like stopped listening to them because I was like, I don't want it. It felt
a sad day.
Huge when I started, and now I'm like, oh my god, I'm like 2 books from the end. I can't do this.
I just got back into it. I had read up until Naomi's book last year, and then I read it and I was like, okay, nothing could be better than this, so I need to take a break. And then now I'm back, and I didn't love the like Cade and Holly's book. Like, it was super fun, but like it wasn't as great as Naomi. But now I'm on Sabine and Rydstrom, and I'm just like, this is so hot. I can't stop.
Yeah. Yep. I'm so excited for you. There's so much.
In the next series, Scott in the Dark is my favorite in the next one. So I like all of them, but this one is a particular fave. So.
Mine is Day of the Duchess. Which
that one's so good too.
I might cry in our live discussing that, guys. I love it so much. It's like irrational. But
I read Rogue and A Scot in the Dark like right back to back. So I'm super confused about like where one begins and the other ends. I thought
Like,
that was
wait a
the
minute.
road trip book. I was like, I don't know anymore.
Like, I don't know.
All right, speaking of books, we always love to rank all of the ones that we have read so far in the Summer of Sarah. So B, I hope that you will join us in doing
Absolutely.
our ranking. We always Dana pulled her old-
I'm fine.
So we always start with our least favorite, which blanket statement, we all love all of
They're
these.
all great.
All great, but you have to.
Some that
you
are
have-
lessing great.
Yes, we just there has to be some kind of system.
Yes,
So-
they're not all our favorite.
Yes, they
It's
can't be.
impossible.
This is rough. I didn't think about this all day. And now I'm gonna have to make some tough choices.
I know. I'm like, ugh.
Okay, so we're gonna
And
start with
Agree or disagree in the comments because I want to see if y'all agree or disagree.
Mhm, mhm.
Okay, so this is 8th is what we're gonna start with.
Least favorite.
My least favorite has been 10 Ways.
Yeah, that one I didn't even finish on my reread. Sorry.
Yeah,
Like I was
Oh.
listening to it too, kind of, and I was like, meh.
it's the most boring.
Yeah,
It's kind of boring. Kind of like the
It's just like-
statues.
Georgiana and Layton as characters.
well, yeah. I just
Yes, I liked that. Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
I want a Minerva House book, and it was just.
And I don't have that one, so that says a
That's
lot.
not that.
I don't own that one.
Uh,
in paper.
right. All right. 7 for me is the CSM.
Yeah, same.
Yeah,
Which
it
is
was
fantastic.
a great
As a-
debut.
Yeah, a great debut, a great YA intro to the genre, but otherwise, I don't know. There's no sex in it, so.
Oh my
what are we
god.
gonna do?
What am I doing?
Are we ready, Dana? You look concerned.
I'm
Okay.
I think I got
I
it.
think this is where
I think
I
we're
know
gonna divide.
you
I'm
and I
like,
said-
what do I have here with me? I don't own them all in paper. Okay, go ahead.
Go ahead. All right. So mine is 11 Scandals.
I'm gonna do
Dana's is
One Good Earl.
Ooh, I'm gonna have to say,
It's hard. They're good.
I think 11 Scandals to start is mine. too.
And I love them both.
I like that one. I just have a big heart for this. current
Oh, I
series.
forgot about a book. Now I might change this around. Oh no, I'm gonna keep
We're
it
gonna-
as is. We're gonna
All
keep
right.
it as this.
Okay. So this is what the same order you had last week, at least. So
Maybe. I don't remember.
maybe. No, I checked.
Hold on, I gotta grab my books.
Okay.
Okay. I've got my next one.
Okay. I have my next one.
Yeah, the season was like it was a great beginner book.
It was a great beginner book, a great debut.
Yes, you can view the live chats from previous. They're on my Instagram, which is at To All the Nerdy Girls. And it is in like the middle tab in the like when you're looking at the profile, it's like for IGTV. They're all saved there. You can see them all. And this will be live back on YouTube for anyone who like came back and left or wants to rewatch.
All right. So B is upsetting me. You both. I can't.
You love this book so much, I know.
I almost cried on our IG live. I have so many feelings about the transition from Born to Michael. I like can't handle it. I love it so much.
It's really good. It is.
I mean, I understand. They all got to fall somewhere in the rankings. And I think I might upset B with my next one. So it's all,
That's okay. Ah! That's probably it.
Yeah, I'm very off with this one.
it gets hard at the top because it's like they're all
Choosing Our Babies.
okay. Ready?
Okay, mine is No Good Duke. So the green one.
Understand.
I
Yeah.
got a soft spot for Juliana.
I know.
Juliana's so good. She's such a good character.
That's the thing.
Layton's like
So good.
such a jerk, but like Juliana.
See, and I'm totally a heroine reader most of the time.
I feel that. I think that's what impacts my top 3.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So mine
Is One Good Earl is mine.
love
I-
Pippa.
Yeah, Pippa was great. I
I love
think Cross bothered me a lot through that book. I don't
Mm.
know what it was.
It's sometimes very like subtle, the things that we like pick up on. I have a really weird theory that like the like romance tropes you imprinted on as a kid like are like what your reading experiences end up being. Because like I love like Labyrinth and Beauty and the Beast, so it's like that's always my jam when it comes to books, you know?
Yeah.
Or like I loved The Lion King, and if I ever do like a second chance romance, I need it to be equally as angsty as like Nala and Simba were. Like,
it's amazing.
I don't know if it's true for everyone. It's my personal theory.
I love it. I will have to think about it more. That's gonna give me some food for thought.
You let me know.
It makes me rethink, what my number one is, because it's like I don't know, Dana. What are you doing with that?
I know what your number one is.
We're on
two. We're on two.
Wait, which one did I miss?
You missed 9 rules, right?
Rules,
that's
which is my number 2.
This is my number 2.
So, this was my number 1 until
it's still my number 1. I think maybe because I love a rake.
I mean, it is excellent. It is excellent. I still like
the white covers. I don't know.
You do. This is my number 1.
Mine's obvious. That's why I'm here today.
I would have been surprised when you held it up for number 2. I was like,
wait a minute. I was like, what did we miss? I have them all laying out here.
Like, she's got a secret we didn't know about.
Yeah, I have to say though, when you get here, we're gonna have to talk about this.
And then
ruins the rankings.
Staring in the deep is gonna fuck everything up.
I don't know how to rank them at that point. I don't know what.
That's a problem for future.
Day of the Duchess is gonna mess you up.
Oh my God.
I love it.
All right, so
do we want to talk about any other recs or?
Yeah, let's do some recs. So yeah, we'd like to end these videos on some book recommendations, kind of spotlighting authors of color in particular. I just finished reading like what I think is maybe my very first dark romance because I read Jodie Slaughter's All Things Burn.
I saw that fly by in the chat earlier. Somebody,
I think about guilt and like the heroine like having like a bad thing at the end.
Yes, that's exactly that. It is so interesting because it's like it's something I don't want.
He's a hitman, right?
He's a hitman. So
so he's a murderer.
He has an ex-boyfriend who's abusive and he's stalking her, and she hires this Irish American hitman to take care of the problem. But as they get to know each other, she kind of gets. I think Jen Reed's romance had a really nice definition for dark romance, talking about it being people who feel drawn to the darkness and how they deal with that. And I like that definition a lot for myself, at least as a reader. And that's kind of what happens in this book, because she otherwise is like a victim's advocate. She works at a clinic with other survivors. And yeah, it was really interesting. It's hard to recommend it to people though, because I'm like,
It was a little outside the kiddie pool.
Yeah, exactly. I'm like, I don't want to tell anyone to read it because it might be very triggering or uncomfortable or like a variety of things for some people. If you're interested, look up the content warnings, which are on Goodreads. And I'm excited to read White Whiskey Bargain, which is what I think I'm doing next. Because I know you've recommended that. And it's contemporary, and I don't think anyone's a murderer. So.
No, I mean, it's about 2 rival families that are doing illegal activities, so it's still a little on the dark edge, but it's not too murdery. There is some gun violence, but
okay, I can deal with that.
It's a marriage of convenience too, which is real difficult to pull off in a contemporary, so it works real good. It was one of my top 10 from last year. So
okay. I'm excited about that. All right, what are you 2 reading right now?
Well, one I wanted to highlight, I'm really loving what Harlequin is doing with their Desire line. Yeah. So I'm kind of a new category reader. I never really got into that when I was younger. I was definitely the dress covers more. Yeah. But these are just gorgeous. And Reese Ryan is just an amazing author all around. And I mean, gosh, look at this.
I love that cover so much. Like him holding her thigh.
Like that desk isn't gonna make it. So I also picked that because it has, some desk frisky times that are the hour here. But this is about a distillery business too. They make whiskey or bourbon. I'm sorry, bourbon. And she is brought in to be a consultant for their brand. And it turns out she was a childhood sweetheart of one of the brothers who have had other books in this series. And so it's kind of like childhood lovers, second chance. Really great kind of working dynamic without it being like a weird power thing. She's not his employee and he's not her employee. He's just consulting. And it's short and quick and sweet and super sexy. And I love Reese, so you should check that out. And there's lots of good ones. I just got this one in the mail. Ooh. This one has a couch on it, which I adore.
It's your jam. That's your brand.
I like lounges. So what can I say? So in contemporaries, you don't get a chaise as much as a couch, but sounds good. So that's some things that I'm reading. How about you, Dana?
So I wanted to recommend, thinking about the Harlequin Desire, I just recently read Secret Crush Seduction. So that series is written by an Asian American author. Really fantastic. I think it was like the second or the third one in the series. Really great, like a best friend's like a brother's best friend romance, which like that always gets under my skin. And I also really wanted to recommend Mia Sosa. I have a lot of her books that I really want to get to, but if you're like in the mood for like a rom-com right now, you know, a lot of people are. I really enjoyed The Worst Best Man. Such a fantastic, like really like funny book. I feel like a lot of rom-coms right now are not actually like funny, but, like her book was really funny.
Yeah. That one legit could just take that book, put it on screen. Like,
yep.
I could see it just right on the screen.
Every time he was eating hot food, it was great.
There's a really good his best friend in that book. I loved so much, and I'm really looking forward to his book as the second one.
Sorry, we have a visitor. Say hi.
Hello, hi.
Welcome to the chat. All right, I think otherwise we have some housekeeping things to end us off with. So you will find in the description of this YouTube video, and we will share it to the chat. We have created a survey because a bunch of you have said that you would like to do this next season. Dana and I would love to do this next season. So we're really curious about ways that we can make it better, the kind of authors and genres you all are interested in reading. We made it so the questions are not required. So you don't have to answer every single one, just answer whatever you have opinions on. Anything you have to say will be really helpful. As some fun added incentive, group member Denise has a poster for the Rogue Not Taken that shows the road trip that they take, and it's signed by Sarah. So if you complete the survey and enter your name, you will be entered to win. That is huge thanks to Denise, who donated this, and she will be mailing it out to you. So big thanks, Denise. So yeah, the link, again, we'll put it in the chat, but it's also in the comments here, or in the description here, along with all our social handles. So you can find us and you can find B.
And you're missing the like probably huge part of the survey. So we will be having our interview and kind of group chat with Sarah coming up next month. So if you want to have a question that like you really want to ask her, you can also include it on the form. There is a spot for questions for Sarah, so that's super exciting. So obviously we'll be prioritizing those, but we'll also like have time for any questions in the comments during that interview.
Yep, and we will have a time and date for you all very, very soon on that. We're just confirming it with Sarah because we want it to be the start of the Bare Knuckle read, which we're all really, really pumped about. What else? Okay, so tomorrow, Dana and I will post the review templates and IG stories for this book, and we will post the new bingo cards. I know Dana is probably very excited to post her completed bingo card. On Sunday, Dana will be making the next group chat, so keep an eye out for that. And then next Wednesday, we will continue our cover and step back voting. And I'm going to try not to be mad at all of you because one of my favorite covers got voted out. So what the heck?
I know. Which one is that, Kelly?
I will reveal it next week.
And I think maybe your favorite step back also.
You all are devastating me right now.
But like odd subject, odd like turn. I really wish that the swimming pool was a step back for Never Judge a Lady. I feel like that would have been perfect.
Amazing. It would have been an amazing step back. That's all right. It's similar to, I think, ranking our favorite books. The covers are also amazing, and the step backs are so amazing that it is. I think I posted in my stories like choosing between the Day of the Duchess step back and the Brazen and the Beast one felt impossible. Because I was like, in the one, he's like down on his knees for her, and like the other one, she's like above him and in control. It's like I love them for different reasons, and they're both so beautiful.
You really wanted to rig it and have them on separate cards. I know.
I know. Why won't you let me do this?
That's great.
They would have had to go against each other eventually. But okay, I think that's all I have. Unless either of you have anything else.
If you wouldn't mind, I'm going to plug my library program before I go. I work for a big public library, and I'm hosting some romance authors on August 11th. I'm going to drop the sign-up link into the chat. I think I did it right.
Oh, I will put it in the public chat.
I will put it in the public chat. Thank you. So Olivia Dade is joining us. So she is a contemporary author. She wrote 40 Love, which just came out, and she's the upcoming author of Spoiler Alert, which is kind of her contemporary take on a Jaime Lannister, Brienne of Tarth romance, which is really exciting. And then Denise Williams will be joining us, and she's the upcoming debut author of How to Fail at Flirting, which is out in December. And then Steve Anadown from the Pop Culture Library will be joining us too. And we're just going to talk about romance because it's Romance Awareness Month in August. So good time to whoop it up.
That's so exciting, and congratulations on getting so many fantastic authors. Yeah, I'm so excited to attend and watch.
Yeah, I'm really happy, and anyone can come. You don't need to be from Milwaukee or have a library card. You just sign up and we'll send you the link. So I hope to see you there, and thank you for having me.
So thank you so much for joining us, B. Kelly, her computer died. She's back, but we're going to say goodbye. Thank you all for joining us.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you so much, B.
Thank you. Have a good night. Thank you so much.
And
read the next
happy
word.
reading.
Yes.
Bye.